Hi Dave, I'm Ted Mackel with Keller Williams in Simi Valley, California, answering your question on Trulia about your situation with your short sale. I decided to put this up on Trulia for a couple of reasons. These kind of questions on short sales come up all the time on Trulia. Also, it's way too much to type, probably more than anyone wants to read, and hopefully if I can keep this short enough for everyone to want to watch. Real briefly, this is important stuff to understand. In California, the only requirement for a real estate license is to take some online classes and pass a test. So you get that certificate, and not everyone who has a certificate has the skills or the expertise to handle complex transactions. This even goes for brokers and agents that have been in the business for many years. Things change. Even some people come into the business years ago and they just don't have the skill set to handle a complex issue. So you really need to get out and do your homework before hiring an agent. And getting into a short sale transaction, you got to be worried about the agent handling the listing. So this is a very complex issue. It's not suited for everyone. It ruffles the feathers of all my colleagues when I talk about it, but it's just a fact. Our California Association of Realtor contracts cover everything, but when we get into complex contracts and complex property situations, a lot of times we have to create addendums with additional custom language, and that is just not a skill that everyone has these days, and even with large companies, that doesn't make a difference either. The only requirement for me to work at any real estate office here in East Ventura County or in the West San Fernando Valley is that I have a license that's in good standing and I have a pulse, and that's about the only thing they do in the job interview. It goes for all agents. So just make sure when you get out there, do a good interview on the agent. Make sure they've got a professional resume. They're interviewing for a job, and talk to them more. And you ask the questions. Don't let them give you their canned ham sales pitch. Next thing I want to cover, now that I've thoroughly trashed my own industry, is your contract. And that is, you got to look at the sales addendum, the short sales addendum. It's a Form SSA. In your paperwork for this, you should have a residential purchase agreement. It's about 8 pages long. There could be something on page 1 and something also on page 5. There's a couple areas where it's blank in there, so you can check that out and double check that they didn't add any verbiage in there. The 2-page buyer inspection addendum or advisory, it's really nothing to worry about at this point. It won't have a bearing on where you're at now. You should also have a short sale addendum in there, like I mentioned, the SSA, and possibly a wood destroying pest addendum. That would be the core of the contract that was put together on this agreement. On this SSA form, under Section A, the first paragraph, second line, there's a space to put a date on. You're probably, like any short sale, blown way past that date, and that would give you the ability to cancel the contract based on Section A. Section C should give the seller enough rights that if they did get language back from their lender that says the lender is trying to retain their recourse rights, or any junior lien holder wants to retain their recourse rights against the seller, that the seller should pause and think really hard about before they're going to go on with the short sale addendum. This is where I talk about agents not having skill sets and why it's important to interview who you're working with. Because the listing agent should have thought about this long and hard before taking on this listing, and should have warned up front to the seller that this was a huge possibility, and put in additional writing in an addendum form when you guys entered into the contract going to escrow, that this could be a possibility and that the seller may want to cancel if the lender wanted to maintain any type of recourse rights. The liability is huge and can be very troubling for the seller. And this is a common problem with short sales right now. Many agents aren't advising their sellers properly about these recourse rights that seller or lenders may have against the sellers. If I were you and I were in your shoes at this point, cancel out, go to escrow, get the deposit, tell the seller to sign the release on the deposit. I will tell you, if the escrow wants to charge a cancellation fee, since they've done work in this escrow, that's pretty normal. It shouldn't be too big a fee, and just move on from there. Get the balance of your deposit and move on. If you read that short sale addendum under Section D, it's going to tell you how all your inspections, appraisals, and everything else are total risk money. Your agent, your buyer's agent, should have sat you down before you even looked at one house and told you what all your non-refundable risk money was on any type of transaction, whether it is a short sale, REO, or a regular sale. It's really quantifiable. It's really easy. There is quite a bit of risk money just to get into escrow and possibly have to walk away. You should be aware of that. That expectation should be mapped out way in the beginning. If you have any other questions about short sales, post them up. I'm going to start doing a lot of videos. These are all hosted on my YouTube site. I also run homebuysblog.com, which is a real estate blog that serves East Ventura County and the West San Fernando Valley. Focuses more on Simi Valley, but there's great information there. Lots of information like this is in the archives that you can find at any time. Also, if you need to get a hold of me, there are links there. There's links in my Trulia profile. And thanks for asking such a great Trulia question.